of what we did last week. And remember, guys, if you have any questions, don't be afraid to either type in chat or do a hand gesture in the participants thing, or just turn on your mic and say, hey, I have a question. I'm happy to answer it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to review what we did last week, which is on component begin overlap and on component end overlap. All right, and what we did is we created a blueprint. That's this guy right here, where when the player, that's this guy right here, enters the platform that we created, this blueprint that we created, when he enters it, then we turn on a light, an event happens. And we talked about how, where's my blueprint here? This one. And we talked about how this is the same thing that is done in Legend of Zelda and pretty much every game out there in the market today. And basically what happens is the player enters, and then we have this execution noodle that sets off whatever we want to happen. And in this case, we're turning on a light. What we're going to do today is the beginnings of our portal game, where we create a door and the player will still overlap on the door. And when he does, the door will give him a message saying, hey, you don't have the cube, companion cube. Sorry, I had to think of the name of it. You don't have the companion cube, or you do have the companion cube, and I'm going to open the door for you. So we will get into all that in just a second. But I wanted to show you guys like how it works, right? So when a character enters the trigger volume, an event fires, and we also have an end overlap, and that's when the player leaves the trigger volume. Then we have an event fire for there. Okay. Any questions on how that works?
No.
All right, cool. All right, so next I want to talk about our weekly assignment. So I have our assignment here. Oh, it's in the wrong category. 1 second. Okay. So here we have create a door that opens. All right. So when you do coding or when you do artwork in a professional manner, typically you'll get what are called user stories from a client or from the production team, or the production team creates these user stories because they get them from the client. So then you review them, right? You look at them. So in our case, our user stories are that we need a door that's built by a cube mesh that's scaled to look like a door. We need to have a scene root so that the cube mesh opens at the edge of the cube and not at the center of the cube. And I'll show you what I mean by that. When we rotate the cube, it's centered. The pivot point is centered, and we want to actually offset that pivot point. We're going to use a scene root to do that. And then we need an event handler to say, hey, the door is activated, and when that happens, the door should open. And if the door is not activated, then we need to give a message to the player. And that's what this is right here, a text renderer that gives feedback to the player whether the door can be opened or not. All right, and then on Thursday of the next time we meet, so today's Tuesday, so we meet on Thursday. And when we meet on Thursday, we'll go over anybody that needs any additional help on building this. So we're gonna try and build this as quickly as possible today. And if we don't finish, that's okay. We'll try to finish on Thursday, but hopefully we finish. And if we do, then on Thursday, every single person that wants a grade, if you don't want a grade, that's fine. I'm okay with that. But if you do want a grade, you will demo your door logic to the rest of the class. That's how you'll turn it in, okay? So you'll turn on your screen. It'll take maybe a minute. You'll show, yep, here's the door. Here's my blueprints. I look at it. I go, okay, cool. You followed along. Great job. You did the work, and you get a grade. It's that easy. Any questions on the assignment?
Sounds good.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So we are going to do setting up a door blueprint.
I actually have a question.
Okay, what's the question?
So this is kind of off topic a little bit, but I'm using Unreal Engine on my laptop because some of the features in the computer that I'm using right now would not allow it.
Okay, that's fine. I don't have any.
Right?
I don't have any issues with you using your personal computer or a laptop. That's fine by me.
All right. This is that I just thought I should let you know.
Okay, appreciate it. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Hopefully you are already in your project like I am. And I'm gonna slow down on my talking now, okay? So what we wanna do is we're gonna create a new blueprint. So in the content browser, under content and inside the content, you should have a core folder. And inside the core folder, you already have your toggle light blueprint. We're gonna leave that alone. But we're gonna right click in this area. And when we do, we get this context menu. And that context menu, I want you to click Blueprint Class because we're creating a new blueprint. This one's going to be our door, right? It's a door blueprint. And we have all sorts of different types of classes we can pick, but of course, we're going to click Actor for our door. So then our blueprint allows us to name it, and we're going to call this BP underscore door. And BP stands for blueprint, and then our underscore, and then door. All right, so I'm going to double click the door blueprint. It'll open up our blueprint editor. And like all of our blueprints, it has this scene root with a sphere in it. And I definitely don't like the sphere. So I'm going to get rid of it. This is just my personal taste. You don't always have to do it. But for what we're doing in my class, I mean, we're going to get rid of them. So right here in the upper left, we have components. I'm going to click on Add Component. And in the Add Component, Search Components bar, I'm going to search for Scene. And the one I'm looking for is Scene right here, this one under Utilities category. So I'm going to click on that guy. And when I do, it adds it to our components. And I'm going to rename it to Root. And then I'm going to drag by left click and holding right onto our default scene root. And when I do, I get a context menu that says, hey, drop here to make it a new root. And I'm going to say, yeah. And so now when I do that, you can see the sphere in our viewport has gone away, which is perfectly fine for what we're going to do. Okay, so we're going to need some pieces to make this door work. The first thing we're going to need is a cube, right? Because the user story says, hey, you need a cube mesh. So I'm going to type in our components, add component, search bar, cube. And there it is. We got a cube. So what else do we need? We're going to need a trigger volume that's going to be sort of in front of the door itself. And so let's do box, I believe. Box collision. Here we are. This is what we want. So we'll add that. And we definitely want the box to be a child of root. So if your box collision looks like this, where it's root as the parent and then cube is like, or I guess root is the grandparent, and then cube is the parent, and then box is a child. We don't want it like that. We definitely want box to be a child of root. So how I did that is I left click and drag. And then when I let go of the left mouse, it gives me these options, and I'm going to say attach. All right. So I'm going to click on root again, and then we're going to do add component. And what else do we need? We're going to need a text renderer. Oops. Renderer. I can't spell apparently. There we go. So you can see right here, I typed in text renderer in the search, and we have text renderer. And we're going to rename this to helper text. And what this is going to do is this is going to tell the player, hey, you're good. You can open the door now because you put the companion cube in the right spot. Or it's going to say, hey, the companion cube is not in the right spot. You need to do something about it. And I think that's good for now. We might add more stuff as we go along. But I think that's good. Actually, you know what? We do need one more piece. I stand corrected. So let's go to add component. We're going to need one more piece. So in the search component, we're going to type in scene again. And we need another scene. And we're going to rename this to door hinge. And my door hinge is actually child helper. So I made a mistake there. So I'm just going to left click this and drag it onto root and say attach. And that looks good right there. And you know what I'm going to also do is I'm going to rename cube since I'm thinking about it. So I can either double click it. Oh no, how do you do this? Right, I'm sorry, right click and rename like that. So you can right click and rename. Or you can hit F2, either way. So I'm just renaming it a door. Okay, so we're gonna shape our door, our cube, to look like a door. So I'm gonna click on scale or hit R to scale it. And remember, the grid itself is the ground. So we're gonna bring the door up a little bit. And I'm actually, right now it's at the ground level. I'm actually gonna do like 1 notch into the ground. This is just in case the ground is like hilly or something like that. The door can handle that. And I'm gonna compile and we'll save. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move this light blueprint that we created out of the way in my scene. And I'm gonna drag my door in front of my my character here, and you can see it. The door is just a little bit too small, so we're gonna need to make the door bigger. So I am gonna go back to scale here in my blueprint. I'm gonna drag it out and drag it out like this. And that might be too big. We can look to see. We can also hit play and see how big it is. It looks pretty good, but I think we need to go just a little bit wider. So we'll scale it again in our blueprint. And I'm gonna go 1 notch down. There we go. That looks better. Cool. All right. Let's go ahead and scale your door if you haven't already. Give you a second. Make sure you add it to the scene so you can check the size and make sure that it fits with the character itself. A neat trick you can do for those of you who build doors and stuff like that in Maya is you can actually export the character as a character mesh in our in the regular what is this called? I forget what it's called. Content pack. Sorry, it's called the first person character content pack, which comes with Unreal. And I believe there's a character. Yeah, here it is, right? So you have the character itself, and you can export that from Unreal and import it into Maya, and then you'll have a base of the size of your character, and then you can build all your doors and windows and all that, and buildings and trees and rocks and whatever else you do if you're an environment artist to the correct scale. And so when you import it into Unreal, it's already the right size, right? All right, so I'm assuming you've got the door complete. So what we're gonna do next is we're going to adjust the trigger volume. So what I'm gonna do, oops, I can't do it in the scene, I have to do it in the blueprint. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move the door hinge. I'm sorry, not the door hinge, the box collision. We're gonna move it like this. And you can see it's actually on the wrong side of the door. That's okay. We'll actually leave it that way, and I'll rotate the door in the world. So in our world, I'm going to rotate this door like that. That's fine. So what I'm doing here with the box collision is I'm actually putting it like where the door handle would be. And I'm going to scale this just a little bit down too, because I think it's just a little too big. And that looks good. Now I want to add some feedback for the player to say, hey, you know what, that's where you need to check. So what we'll do is we'll go to our add components in our door blueprint. So let me bring this back up and show you what I mean. So we're going to go to add components, and we're going to do sphere this time. And we're going to rename this to door handle, or door knob, actually, right? Door knob, that's what it is, door knob. And It's okay that it's a child of door. It can be a child of root too, because it really doesn't matter, but I'm just gonna make mine a child of door. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to move it right on top of where our trigger volume is. And I'm gonna scale it down so that it looks like a doorknob. Oops. That's a pretty big doorknob. That's good enough. It doesn't have to be perfect. It can even be not part of the door. So see how that looks in the game? We'll hit play here. And yeah, see, it looks like a doorknob. Maybe I need to bring it back just a little bit. We'll bring it back this way just a bit. And then we'll also move this guy down a little bit. There we go. Perfect. Perfect. All right, I'll give you guys a second to scale your doorknob. And what I want to do, the idea of what I want to do is I want the player to walk up to this doorknob. So they'll walk up to it and they'll hit F for use or mouse click. It doesn't matter what button we set it to. And then we'll get text that says, you need to put the companion cube away or put the companion cube in the right spot. You don't have that yet. The door is still locked. Or we'll get text that says, hey, the door is opening now because you do have the companion cube. And so that's what that trigger volume is going to be used for. All right, so I assume you have your doorknob set up. Let's go to the helper text. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this helper text. And I'm going to put it right in front of the doorknob here. And with the helper text selected in my components, I'm going to go to the details panel of the helper text. I'm going to go to the text category. And I'm going to go to horizontal alignment. And I'm going to change it to center. And then vertical alignment, I'm going to change that to center as well. And the rest of the stuff, we can leave it how it is. It's fine. We'll just put it like that. That looks good. Compile and save. And then when I look into, oops, when I look into the game here, I want to do this. There we go. You can see it. It's white, and that's fine. We're going to change the color through blueprints, and we're going to change the text itself. But at least we can see it, and that's what's important. Now, we know that it's in the right spot. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go make sure helper text is selected. We're going to go to our details panel. We're going to scroll down till we get to the rendering category, and we're going to make it not visible. We don't want the helper text to be visible until the player interacts with the door, and then we'll make it visible. This is the exact same thing we did with the light, right? The light didn't turn on until the player interacted with the trigger volume. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is the door hinge. And what I mean by that is if I select the door right now, you can see my pivot point is in the center of the door. So if I rotate the door, you can see it rotates on the center of the door. And actually, now that I'm rotating it, I see that I need to do something else. I have another mistake. I need to make the trigger volume also a child of door. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab the box right here, this box collision, and I'm gonna drag it onto door. And so now when I rotate the door, the box and the doorknob rotate. So actually you do need the doorknob and the box to be a child. But you can see still, the problem is that it rotates on the center. And what we really want it to do is rotate it on the side. So how we're gonna do that is I'm gonna grab the door and I'm gonna make it a child of door hinge, just like that. And you can see door hinge is centered on door, but if I drag door that is now a child of door hinge to the right, like so, and I grab door hinge, now the door opens correctly. So I'll do that one more time because that was a lot. So make sure that doorknob and door box are a child of door. Doorknob and box are a child of door. When we do that, we can see the door rotates on the center because its pivot point is in the center of the mesh. And what we want it to do is rotate on the door hinge. And in order to do that, I need to grab the door itself, the door mesh, and make it a child of door hinge. And still it rotates on the center. So what we have to do is offset door, and I'm just using the move tool and dragging it a little bit to the right. And when I do, I can click door hinge again. And when I rotate it now, the door rotates correctly. And we're gonna do one more thing. We're gonna do another component. We're gonna type in scene. We're gonna add a scene. And this one is going to be, we'll call this recenter door. And this one is gonna be a child of root. So we'll reattach it. And none of this would be necessary, by the way. None of this would be necessary if you built the pivot point in the correct spot in Maya. But since we're using a cube or 3ds Max or even ZBrush, it doesn't matter. But if we did it in Maya with the correct pivot point, we'd have to do all this craziness. Okay, so what we're gonna do is our recenter door is gonna be the parent now. So what we're gonna do is grab door hinge, and we're gonna drag it onto recenter door. And we move the door, it looks like about one grid. So I'm gonna grab door hinge and I'm gonna move it the opposite direction so that it is about one grid space away. That's what it looks like I did. And basically now the door is recentered back onto origin. And it's kind of important because when the door opens, we want it to open correctly. But when we place the door, we don't want to have to deal with it being offset one whole grid away. We want it to be centered and place it in the center and not have to deal with any of that craziness. All right, so we'll hit save. We'll take a look at how it looks. And you can see here, when we place it in the door, see how it's centered. We don't have to worry about it being offset. If I didn't have that, so I'm gonna break this again. This is just for demonstration, don't break yours. If I didn't have that and I was placing the door, oops, I forgot to move the door back the way it was because the door hinge is in the right spot. So move the door back the way it was, compile and save. And now you can see the pivot point is off, right? It's off on the right side, which may be fine for a door, but you don't want to deal with all that if you don't have to. Okay, so I am going to put it back on recenter door hinge, move this back to the side, compile and save, and that looks good. Okay, so hopefully you got all that done. I'll give you guys a minute or two to get that sorted. And while you guys are doing that, go ahead.
Can you go over how to do the recenter door part again?
Sure. Okay, so I'm going to start from the beginning here. So loop, and I'm going to get rid of door recenter. I'm going to get rid of door hinge as well. Okay, so our door pivots in the center. We don't want it to pivot in the center. We want it to pivot on a hinge. So we're going to go to add component. We're going to type in scene. I'm going to add the scene. I'm going to rename it to door hinge. Then I'm going to grab the door mesh and make it a child of door hinge. And with the door mesh selected, I'm going to drag it to the right a little bit so that it is aligned with the door hinge right at the edge of the door. That way, whenever I rotate the door hinge, the door rotates correctly. Then I'm going to add another scene. I'm going to name this one recenter door. And to be honest, this one isn't necessary, but it's just a CYA, which stands for cover your booty. You know what I'm saying? All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to grab this recenter door, make sure that it is a child of root. And then we're going to grab the door hinge and make it a child of recenter door. So recenter door, door hinge, door, doorknob, box, like that. And then finally, I got to move the door hinge back to the left so that the door is centered. See how this, you may not be able to see it too well, but see how this one is red? This is where our center is, center line. And then this one is green. This is the Y, and that's the center line as well. So I put the door right in the center of those two lines.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem. So compile and save. Okay, so it looks like we got most of the stuff done. Another thing we could do, you can do it on your own if you want, is to add another doorknob to, oh no, what have I done? Nope, can't do it that way. Why are you not working? There it goes. Add another doorknob and another box collision on the other side. But the reason I'm not doing that is because this door is just going to act as a goal for us, right? The door is only going to open one way. So that's it. You know, we're not going to deal with it opening both ways. But you can if you want to. All right, so looks like we got most of the stuff done. If we need anything else, we'll add it as we move along. Let's do, we'll go to our event graph. And in our event graph, we will, let's see, what do we need to do? We need to, we need to say helper text of door locked. We need helper text of door open, right? We need logic to rotate the door when opened. And we'll do that first, actually. And then we need to disable the door after it's been opened. So the player doesn't have to, like if the player messes with the door again and it closes, we don't want any of that to happen. We just, like as soon as they've opened the door, all logic stops, right? We don't want them to mess with anything further. Okay, so let's think about it. So helper text, let's do logic to open the door. What we'll do is we will go to our box collision. We'll select that guy. And then we'll go to our details panel. And we'll scroll all the way down to the events category. And we're going to need a on begin overlap. And then we'll go back to our box collision, details panel, events category, and on component end overlap. All right. Let's see. We're going to need a branch. So we're going to start right here with the begin overlap. So if they get to here, they overlap with the box collision, then we're going to open the door. So we're going to drag out a pin, a noodle from the white pin here, this execution pin. And we're going to let go of left mouse to get this context menu. And the context menu, we're going to type in branch. And branch is for Booleans. Booleans are true or false. So we're just going to say, is it true or is it false? And right here under our condition, this red pin, we're going to drag out a noodle. And I'm going to let go of left mouse. And we're going to say promote to variable. And the condition, the variable name, it says condition right now, we're going to rename this. And we're going to name this is cube placed, question mark. And notice I use capital letter for the first word. I'm sorry, for the first letter of every single word. Capital letter for the first letter of every single word. And for now, we're going to hit compile and save. And for now, we're just going to make sure that it's true. Later, we'll come back and adjust this so that it's actually checking to see if this is true or not. But for now, we're going to just say, yes, it is true, because we want the door to open to make sure the door does open correctly. Okay, so under our true branch, we're going to drag out a noodle from the true pin. We got our context menu again. And this time we're going to type in, what is it? Timeline, I believe. I could be wrong. Timeline. Yeah, add timeline. This one right here, add timeline. All right, so it drops a timeline node, and it allows us to name that timeline node. So we're going to rename this to door opening timeline. Oops, line. And I'm going to show you a secret here. What we really want happening is the door to open from the beginning of our animation and not just randomly. So right now it's set to, random. It's not randomly, but it basically, like, if we open the door a little bit and then we come back, it's going to open the door from wherever position it is. We want the door to always open from the start, because we're only going to open the door one time. So here's a trick. You're going to hold down Control. While holding down Control, you can grab any noodle, and you'll see as soon as I move my mouse to the pin, it changes to a hand gesture. So holding down Control changes to hand gesture. I'm going to left click and drag, and now I have control of the noodle, and I can move it wherever I want. And I'm going to plug it into play from start. All right, that's a really neat trick. You're going to do that a lot, okay? Control, left click and drag to move noodles around to different pins. Another really good one is to hold down Alt. So if you hold down Alt, you can left click, and you see when I hold down Alt, it changes to crosshair. And I left click, the noodle is deleted. So we'll just drag a new noodle. All right, so Alt and left click to delete the noodle. Control and left click and drag to move the noodle to a new position, a new pin. All right, we hit compile and save. And now what we want to do is we want to open this timeline node. And what we do, we get a new timeline graph. And right here, or it says F, we're going to click this. This is for a float track. We're just going to add a float track to adjust only the Z value. So if we go back to our door hinge, you can see that it is on the Z value right here, the blue. And we're going to rotate that Z value. Unbelievable. Come on, computer. There we go. We're going to rotate the Z value 90 degrees. See, so it's a float. All right, so back to our timeline. We're going to add a float. And right here it says new track. We're going to say rotate door open. And if you messed it up, you can always hit F2 to rename, F2. I believe you can also right click. Yeah, right click to rename. So rotate door open is the name of our float track. The length of our float track, right now we'll leave it at 5 seconds, which is fine. That might be pretty slow, but we'll adjust as necessary. Use last keyframe, we don't worry about. Autoplay, no. It's not gonna loop, it's not gonna replicate. Okay, so all this is good. All right, so now we are here and we have this line. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold down Shift, holding down the left Shift, and I'm gonna left click 2 times. And when I do, I place these keyframes onto our timeline, right? And I'm left click and dragging to select these keyframes. And when I have them selected, you can see that they turn yellow to let me know, hey, you have that keyframe selected. All right, so I'm gonna select one of the keyframes. It does not matter which keyframe I select. I'm gonna select one of them. And in the top left here, I have these a time value and a value block. So under the time, I'm gonna say, for the first one, I'm gonna say 0. And for the value, I'm gonna say 0 as well. And then for the second one, I actually need to double check it, but I believe it's gonna be -90. So I'm gonna go back to the viewport here, and I'm gonna rotate this. And you can see when I rotated it, it was -90. -90 for me. You might need to double check yours, but it's most likely -90 as well. So I'm gonna select the second keyframe, and I'm gonna say 5 seconds for my time, because remember our length of time is 5 seconds right here. And for my value, I'm gonna say -90. And when I do that, you can see that I can only see one curve right now. I'm sorry, not curve, it's a curve float, but keyframe. And I can't see the other one, right? I have this line that goes down and I can't see it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click on zoom to fit horizontal, this button right here, and zoom to fit vertically. And when I do, now I can see both keyframes. And if you can't see them, you can right click and drag, just like you can do in the event graph, right click and drag. All right. So it looks good to me. Everyone has their event graph set up correctly? If you do, give me a thumbs up, or if you need a little bit more time, give me a thumbs down. Or you don't even have to do anything if you don't have it fixed yet. Okay. Cool. All right, we're gonna keep going. So now that the timeline is set up correctly, I'm gonna go back to my event graph. And when I do, you can see I have this new pin that I created called rotate door open. And that's exactly what I want. So now I'm gonna grab the door hinge. I'm gonna left click and drag it into our event graph. And now I have this, this new little node right here where I'm gonna create a, what do we want? We need to rotate it. So we're gonna do set world rotation. So I left click and drag a new noodle. And when I do, I get the context menu and do set world rotation. I believe this is correct. I always get this wrong. It's either set world rotation or add world rotation, I forget. But we're gonna try set world rotation first. And now I have this new node that looks like this. And I'm going to update right here, this update pin from our timeline. It's gonna go right into our set world rotation execution. So basically it's saying that every single frame that this timeline fires, it's going to update this set world rotation. So now what we need to do is we need to right click this set rotation. And when we do, we get a context menu. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna split the pins. So split structural pin. And now you can see I have X, Y, and Z. And remember, I said we were going to rotate on the Z axis because that is where our hinge is, right? It's on the Z axis, rotating it in -90. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just left click and drag the rotate door open because it's going to start at 0 and go to 90. And hopefully that will rotate our door for us. So now the moment of truth, we will compile and save. And then we'll go into our game, hit play, and hopefully, oh boy. Yeah, so obviously something is wrong. Let's do that again so we can see what happened here. So what's wrong is the door is rotated already. I had to rotate the door initially, right? And so it's resetting the door to 0 because our timeline is 0, and then it rotates the door 90 degrees. So what we need to do is we need to get the current rotation of the door, whatever that is, and then add that -90 so the door opens correctly. So what we're going to do is, let's see, what do we need? We are going to go from our door hinge, we're going to drag out another pin. Then we're going to say get world rotation, this one right here. Get world rotation. And what we do, we get this node right here. And then we're going to right click our return value, split that structural pin. And so you can see again, I have the roll, the Y, and the Z, or X, Y, and Z. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to drag out from this rotate door float. And I'm going to say float plus float. This one right here, float plus float. And now I'm going to connect the Z value of our get world rotation. So that'll give me what the rotation of the door is now. And then I'm just going to add in our, our timeline. And then that should rotate the door correctly. All right. So moment of truth again. Hopefully this works. Let's go to the door. Whoa. That's why I like programming right there, my guys. That's exactly why. Okay, so obviously set world rotation is not the right one. That's fine. We'll do set, well, actually let's type rotation. What is it?
Does it ever get hard when you have a character opening a door at the right time?
What do you mean?
Like I read an article somewhere that some game developers that are always having a hard time just having to open doors in the game.
It's possible. I mean, it depends on a lot of logic, right? Does the door lock? Does the door, think about a game of Zelda, right? So we open the trigger checks to see, oh, is there enemies? Do they have the key? Do they have the big key? Do they have the, did the boss get killed? And so on and so forth. And then that's, right? So there's a lot of logic behind that. There could be a ton of variables that's checking all those things. So right now we have one branch only, but it could be 100 branches of like, it does, let's do, we'll do promote this to variable, sorry. And then we'll call this one is bad guys dead. And then there could be another one on top of that. That's, promote the variable. It's like, does have key. Have key. And then, there could be another one that's the big key, does have big key. and you guys don't have to do this. I'm just demonstrating that like there could be a ton of logic behind just opening a door. There's a ton of logic for a lot of things that you could build. So, so yeah, it's possible that it's difficult to make a door. It's a good question. All right, so back to this, set wall rotation is not right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna drag out from our door hinge again, and we are gonna type in set relative rotation. This one right here, set relative rotation. And it looks exactly the same as set world rotation. We're gonna right click our new rotation, split that struct. We'll connect it like this, right to our Z, to our Z. We're gonna get rid of this set world rotation because that one doesn't work. And then we need to connect our update pin to the execution pin of our set relative rotation. So make sure you have this white pin right here, this white noodle. We'll compile and save. And then moment of truth again. And it's still broken. What am I doing wrong here? Let's change this. Instead of -90, we'll do like 1 and see what happens there. Maybe it'll open for 5 seconds. Oof. Definitely doing something wrong. What did I do wrong here? Gotta look at my notes. We will put this back to -90. Go back to here. We're getting the right value, and we're adding 90 to it. Rotation, do set rotation. Oh, do I need a rotator maybe? Get rotator. Oh, maybe it's get relative rotation. That could be what it is. Split it. Let's see if that works. Pretty close. Let's do -1. Okay, that's pretty good. That's close. We'll change the time. We'll do like 2 seconds. And we'll change this to 2. Compile and save, and then see how that works. Hey, that's good enough. Okay, so what did I do? How did I fix this? So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go to our timeline. In our timeline, we're gonna change the length to 2. So right here at the top, change it to 2. And we are going to select the second keyframe. We're going to change the time from 5 to 2 because now our length is 2 seconds. And we're going to change our value from -90 to -1. Then we'll go to the event graph. And in the event graph, we can get rid of this get world rotation. We're going to get rid of that guy. And we're going to drag out from our door hinge. We're going to do get relative. This one right here, get relative rotation. And then we're going to right click our relative rotation pin and split it. And then we're going to connect the Z value to our float plus float. And then of course, this goes into our set relative rotation, which we should already have. We'll compile and save. And then we can test it out. And the door opens for us. Perfect. And of course, every time, as you can see, there's a problem now, which I'll show you guys how to fix. But every time the player touches the doorknob, the door rotates, right? And that's not what we want. We want to do it only one time. So that'll be the next thing we fix. All right, so this looks good. Everything's good here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to left click and drag this logic that we created, and I'm just going to move it over a little bit. And then between our branch and our timeline, I'm going to right click and I'm going to say do once. It's under the flow controls category right here, do once. And when I do it, presents me with a node, this do once node. I'm going to hold down Control and left click our pin so I can get the noodle, and I'm going to connect it right there, just like that. And then I'm going to drag out from our completed pin and connect it to the play from start. And so now the door will only open one time. And that resolves this disable the door after it has been opened. So go back, we'll hit play, we'll test it out. The door opens, perfect. And if I go back to the doorknob, nothing happens. Perfect. Okay, so now we need to add the locks to the door so the door doesn't open when the player gets near, right? That's this part right here is the cube placed. So I'm gonna drag this a little bit further even out of the way. And we don't need these things either, so we'll get rid of those. All right, so if the player has placed the cube, then we want to give the helper text to say, hey, you did it. The cube is in the right place. The door is now opening. Congratulations. So what we need is a new variable. So onto the My Blueprints variables, we're going to click variable. And we're going to name this helper, let's see, helper text value. And my variable right now has a red node right here, a little red icon. That's because it's a Boolean. I can change it right here by clicking on it, and I want to change it to text. Another way I can do it is by, I'm going to change this back to Boolean. Another way I can do it is I can click on it, and when I have it selected, I can go to the details panel. Under variable type, you can see here it's a Boolean, and it has that same red icon. I can click that and change it to text. So they compile and save. And what we're going to do is we're going to left click and drag. And when I do, and I let go of the left mouse, I get a context menu to say, do you want a getter or a setter? And what we want is a setter. We're going to set the helper text value. And we're going to type in here, congrats, the door is now open. Good luck on the next level. And what we can do is we want to make this two lines of text. So I'm going to hold down Shift right here where my cursor is, right? I want the sentences to be 2 lines, a line for each sentence. So I'm hold down Shift, I'm going to hit Enter. And when I do, you can see that it moves the text down. If I just hit Enter by itself, it does nothing. So you have to hold down Shift and then hit Enter. All right, so that looks good. That's the helper text value. What we're going to do is we're going to grab our helper text, the text renderer, the helper text itself, and we're going to drag out from the pin, and we're going to do set text right here under components, text renderer, set text, this guy. And you can see it has that same colored pin, so we're going to connect this pin just like that. And now we're setting the text, but we don't have any executions. So these two nodes are not firing. Why? Because they don't have this white pin yet, this white noodle. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab it from the true, and we're just gonna connect it like that. And then we're gonna continue the flow, connect it like that, and then continue the flow into our do once. And we'll compile and save. And then we'll go back to the game, we'll test it. And no helper text, the text didn't show up. So what do we do? What do we miss? We're missing some things. So what we need to do now, and I'm gonna drag these guys even further because I wanna add more stuff between them. So we have the text set. The next thing we can do is maybe we'll change the color of the helper text. So instead of it being white, we'll make it green, right? Like green light, red light means stop. So we'll make this green because, hey, you did it. So we're gonna grab the helper text again. We're gonna drag out from it again. And this time we're gonna do, I think, what is it? Set, is it color maybe? Yeah, here it is, set text renderer color. This guy, set text renderer color. We'll click on that. And then we have this value. So we're gonna drag out from that value and we're gonna say promote to variable. And we're gonna rename it to helper text color value. Helper text color value. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to drag out that helper text value, let go of left mouse, and I get a setter and a helper. And this time I'm gonna do setter, I'm sorry, getter and a setter. And what I'm gonna do is a setter. And then I'm going to, so we need to compile first. So I'm gonna compile it. And then you can see right here, I have default value, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to click on that. And we're gonna change it to green. So make sure you change both the, what is this, the brightness scale and then also the color saturation. You can change it to whatever you want, doesn't matter. Looks good to me. So then I'm gonna connect like this, and I'm gonna connect like that. Make sure you have the execution pin, the flow of it. All right, so now that sets the color, but it's still not visible, right? So if we go to the game, we hit play, and uh-oh, the door's not opening. What did I do? Let's see. Oh, I'm missing the connection right here. My bad. So make sure you have all that connected correctly. All right, so door opens, but I still don't have the text. That's fine, so we'll save. So now we need one more thing. So we'll grab our helper text. And I'm going a little bit faster now because we're sort of doing all the things for our helper text, which is fine. And this one is just like the light bulb. We're going to do set visibility. Set visibility, that one right there. And we're going to make it visible. So then we're going to reconnect our flow. So it looks like that. Perfect. And make sure set visibility is true because we're going to make it visible. All right, so we hit play. Congrats, the door is now open. Good luck on the next level. Oh, you know what? We have an issue with our text renderer, which is fine. Let's go back to this guy, see what I did wrong. Let's set it. Why is it not changing it? Let's do this. I'm gonna break this connection. I'm gonna go make that go away, and I'm gonna connect it like this. So how I did that is I held down Alt. Remember we talked about that earlier, and I left click to get rid of it. And then I dragged this guy to those, and then I just selected this one and hit delete. Hopefully that fixes the color. If not, I will look to see what's going on with the color. No, it didn't fix the color. Why? Why Unreal? Why do you hate me so much? Let's see, what did I do wrong? This is correct. This is the right color. Oh, no, that doesn't matter. That should be all right. I'm not sure why it's not working. Let's see. Let me look at this guy again. And what is it called? Set text render color. It's right here. Yeah. Not sure why that's not coloring the right way. Not too concerned about it though. Congrats, the door is now open. Good luck on the next level. All right, so that looks okay. Let's make it so that the only thing that's wrong is this right here, which is frustrating, but we can fix that later. That's no big deal. So the only thing that's missing now is one, when the player leaves the area, we want the text rendering to go away. So we can do it a couple ways. One, we can make it go away once the door is completely open, right? So when the door is completely open. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab this guy, right? Set visibility. We're gonna left click and drag, grab the set visibility. I'm gonna do Control C to copy, Control plus C to copy. And then I'm gonna paste it right here. And that's Control V, Control plus V to paste, right? The same as like Microsoft Word and Excel and all that stuff. And then I'm gonna uncheck our visibility because we're gonna turn it off, right? And I'm just gonna connect the flow like that. And now when we hit play, oh, I know why. I know what I did wrong. I did it wrong. I connected the wrong spot. My bad. It actually goes right here on the finished. So once the door is completely open, then we'll connect it like that to the finish. Compile, save, take a look and see if that works. So the text is there, the door is open, and then the text goes away. So that's one way to do it, but the problem with that is that you know, not all of your gamers are going to have a high reading level, and that happened very, very fast. So there's a couple things we could do to fix that. The cheapest way to do that is to add a delay. So right here under finished, we'll add a delay. And maybe we'll add maybe 3 seconds. So we'll do like 0.3 and then we'll do complete. This is not the most ideal way to handle it because we're still assuming that the player has enough time to read it. And what we really want to do is give the player the choice to finish reading it. Anyway, so door opens, 3 seconds, and then it goes away. So right, hangs out a little bit longer. That's a good way to handle it, but again, not the best way. The best way to handle it is to actually add another box collision. And we'll call this leaving door. And you don't have to do this. You don't have to do this, just like extra credit, nice to do. So what I'm doing here is I am scaling this box collision up a little bit, and it's behind the door. And so when the player leaves the door, then we'll turn it off, right? So we'll do this, go to event graph, we'll get rid of this delay, go to our leaving door collision. We'll go to on begin overlap, and then we will connect this guy up like so. So now the text stays, oops, the collision is too close to the door. Let's move it away from the door a little bit. Something like that. Okay, so the text stays. The text stays now. And I'm not sure why it's leaving. Oh, I know why it's leaving. It needs to find the character. So we'll do other actor equals, and we're looking for BP first person. No, was it first person character? There it is. If that's true, then turn off. This is a little bit more advanced, So if you know what you're doing, great. If not, that's okay. Yay, so now it doesn't go away until I enter the door, and then it still doesn't go away because it hates me, but that's okay. So the idea is there. Let's see, maybe it's a overlap component. I could be wrong. Boom. And it's still not going away. Okay, we can troubleshoot it. Let's see. We'll hit F9 on our branch here. We'll play. We'll go. And now it's, I have a breakpoint. And we can see it's false. And current value is door. That's fine. So we're going to hit resume. And it stopped again. Still leaving door. Oh, oops. There we go. Now it's the player. No, it's still leaving door. What is this one? Oh, it is first person blueprint. Why is this one not being nice? Okay, let's try this again. Hit play. Should be false. Yeah, see, it's finding the door, which is fine. And I go through. And now it should find first person character. What did I do wrong here? Okay, we'll do this. We'll do begin play. On begin play, we're going to do, and I've gone into a complete tangent, which is terrible of me. On begin play, we're going to do get actor of class. We're going to say first person character, and we're going to promote that to variable. We're going to call this first person character. So now it should find it. And then in here, we're going to drag this guy and connect it like that. And now we'll see if it works. First one is the door. That's fine. Go through. Second one, first person character, condition is true. Yes, it works. Excellent. But the text didn't go away. Oh, there it goes. Probably do it on leave instead of enter. Or you know what we could do is this should be a do once, is what it should be. Do once. There we go. Now it'll go away and it'll never come back. Congrats, the door is now open. Perfect. Go through it and the text goes away. Excellent. All right, now I'm going to move this a little bit closer to the door. Hit play again. Cool. Okay, so door opens. It has helper text for when the player does the right thing. Our color is wrong, but we can work on that later. We have our set visibility, and then we have the logic to open the door itself. Okay, so what we need now is our if the door can't be opened, right? Because it's locked. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on our isCubePlace Boolean, and we're going to say not true, that it's false. Then we're going to left click and drag on this set text renderer. Actually, you know what? We're going to left click and drag on all of this set text renderer and also the set visibility as well. This one. So left click and drag this whole flow that we created. We're going to do Control C to copy and Control V to paste it. And then we're going to connect our false pin to the set value. And instead of it saying, congrats, the door is open, we're going to say the cube, we'll call this companion cube is not set yet. Please set a cube to, cube is capitalized, to open the door. And we'll hit Shift Enter to make this 2 lines. That looks good. We'll change the helper text value from green, which it's at now, to red. No blue, just red. And then set visibility is true. And now we can test it because remember the very first thing we did is say the is a cube place is false. So we can test it. And what should happen is the door, see, the companion cube is not set yet. Please set the cube to open the door. All right. So let's see if we can fix the helper text value problem. This is setting the color. Why is it not working? Let me see if I can just do it this way. Do this way. Split struct, do red at 255. And then maybe I can do this one this way too. Split struct, and we'll do green at 255. We'll compile and save and see if that works. Of course it does. Okay, so how I did that is I recombine these again. Recombine and recombine. Oh, another thing I can do, I think I can get into this. I forget how to get into it. Let's see. Details. I thought I needed a value like this one. Yes, I do. Okay, so what I did is I right-click this guy, split structural pin, and then we have just like any Photoshop stuff. There was no helper text color value set connected. What do you mean? Helper text color. I had it like this. This one's red. I'll compile and save. I could be wrong. Connect, and it's on the other end. Oh, right. I need to get the helper text value, then set it, right? So get it, set it to the color that I want, and then now that replaces it. You are right, sir. Let me see. Yep, you're right. Thank you. That's what I was forgetting. Okay, so same thing on this one as well. Connect like that, connect like that. And then this one I'm setting as not red, but green. And then that should work. This one sets it at green. Why is this one setting it? What am I doing here? No, that sets it. That's not how it works. I want this to be red, but then that's doing it for both. Do I need another one? We'll just do two of these. We'll just call this color, and then we'll duplicate this by holding down Control and hitting W, and we'll call this color value. Or maybe we'll just say helper text red. This will work, and then we'll do helper text green. That's fine. So I duplicated this by holding down Control and hitting W, right? And then we can do another one that's like yellow if we want. Okay, and I just renamed it. Then I'm just going to get rid of these guys. We'll reconnect our flow. For helper text green, we will make the color green. For helper text red, we'll make the color red. And for helper text yellow, we'll make the color yellow. Then compile and save. And then green goes into our yes. So I'm going to left click and drag green. And I'm going to connect it right here to our value pin. And then I'll do the same thing over here. I'm going to get rid of this logic, reconnect our flow. And this one is red. And then we'll leave it like that. Compile, save, test it out, and we have red now. And if I go back to our blueprint and I go to the is cube is place and set that to true, and I hit play, and now the text is green. Perfect. All right, so that's okay, Maurice. We're almost done here, and you'll be able to watch the video. Okay, so what else do we need? We need to say when the player leaves, the door, that the text goes away. What we can do is we can make another collision box. So I have this one behind the door, which is fine, but I want another collision box, and we'll say that this one is leaving the door as well. So we're going to create another collision box. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to add component. I'm going to type in box. And right here we have collision. And I'm going to say yes. And I'm going to rename this to, I already have leaving door. So maybe we'll say leaving area collision. And right now mine is a child of leaving door. I don't want that. I want it to be a child of root. And I'm going to drag this out. And I'm going to scale it up a little bit. And I want it to be kind of a little bit far away from the door and also a little bit wider than the door too. Because I want to give the player a chance to like scoot back a little bit to like read the text, because sometimes text is really big. Doesn't need to be that tall, but there we go. Something like that. Actually, we can probably make it a little bit wider. This way the player can, be on the side and still see it. And the text will only go away when we leave this area. So I'll give you a second to scale it. I only got 9 more minutes. And we'll review this again on Thursday before class. All right, so what we need, we have this one is for our original box, right? Original box. We don't need that one anymore. And if we wanted to be fancy, which I think we should be, we should rename this original box to doorknob collision. So I'm going to hit F2. I'm going to say doorknob collision to rename that original box collision. And I am going to also, since if you didn't do the leaving door thing, because I went over that really, really fast, you don't have to, but I'm going to rename this as well. We're going to say leaving area completed collision. All right, and we'll compile and save. So we have good naming conventions here. All right, so back in our event graph, we're going to click on our leaving area collision. We're going to go down to the details panel, and all the way to the bottom, we're going to say on end overlap, and make sure that it's the leaving area collision one and not our doorknob collision. And what we're going to do is we are going to grab the helper text set visibility, this one right here. We're going to do Control C. And we'll go back to our on component end overlap and Control V to paste it. And then we're going to uncheck the visibility and connect the node. And this will turn off the visibility when the player leaves. So let's test it out. So I walk up and oops, we have a problem there. We can fix that in a minute. And the problem is I'm right at the edge here and it keeps turning off and on. So I got to deal with that. That is for the yes. If I do the no, so if I go back to is cube placed and we make it false, let's see how that one looks. So I hit play, because really that's what this is for, right? I can't get in, it stays on, and then I walk away from the area and it turns itself off automatically. Cool. So for the false and the helper text information, this is working out really good. But for the true, it is not working out the way we want it to. So what can we do to fix that? Well, let's see. If I enter, oh, you know what we can do is we can just scale. We can just move this back. What we'll do is just move this like this. And then we'll scale this like this. And now I won't leave the area, right? This will fire off first because I'm entering this cube before this one. So the text will always stay on until I enter there. So now what we need to do is, what do we need to do? Oh, we need to go to is cube place, set it to true so we can test it out. So go back, hit play, green, and you can see that it stays on. It's perfectly fine until I enter the door's collision, right? Leaving the area. Now it goes away. All right, perfect. Oh, and our text is still coming back on when I'm to the next to the door. So we need to fix that too. All right, so one more bug to fix. Let's go back to our blueprint. And what is that bug? That's this one right here. So under the true, if I walk to the doorknob collision, I'm going to get this helper text even if I turned it off already. So what we need to do is we're going to move this over a little bit. And I'm going to grab this do once, and I'm going to do Control X, Control, oops, to everyone, Control plus X to cut. So I cut that node, and I'm going to paste it right here. Control V as in Victor. Then I'm going to hold down Control and left click onto this noodle to connect that noodle back, and then redo our flow. That's connected. That one's connected. That one's connected. Ah, here we are. Back to our play to start. Compile and save. Hit play. Door opens. Text goes away. And if I look at the knob, it no longer turns on that text. So that's good. Perfect. And if I get it and I walk away, the text goes away as well. Perfect. Cool. And if we set is cube is placed as true, or sorry, as false, and we hit compile and save, and then we go here, and it goes away once I leave. Perfect. The same thing if I go this way. Okay, so our door is set. That is good. What we'll do Thursday is you'll show me that you guys have this done. So if you don't have it done, you can watch the video. I'm going to do my best to get that video up right away for you guys. And I will also take some pictures for you so you guys can see how it's done as well, because sometimes it's hard to see the video and what I put down. And also, we did have some issues, which is fine. That's how programming works. And then on Thursday, you guys will show me the door is completed and you have it working. And then we will start to build out a trigger volume that looks like this, where we are checking to see if the player has placed the companion cube on that trigger volume. And if they have, so here's our trigger volume. I'm sorry, here's our companion cube. What is the button to pick it up? Oh, right mouse. And if they have, and we place it on the thing, then the door will open. And if they didn't place it, then the door will stay closed. Actually, I'm sorry. What we'll do is actually we're going to place it on the thing. The door will still remain closed, and then they'll go up to it like we have. But basically, what we're doing is when we do this, when we place the cube down, it is we are changing this Boolean value. Is the cube is placed, right? We're just saying, yep, the cube is placed. Nope, the cube is not placed. Yep, it is. Nope, it's not. And then that just changes this flow. That's what we'll do after we, you guys show me that you have the door working. All right, any questions, comments, concerns? 2 minutes. All right.
No, sir.
All right, guys. Well, then you guys have a good night, and I will see you guys on Thursday. Should I show the timeline one more time? Sure, no problem. For anybody else, you guys are free to go if you don't have any questions.
Thank you, sir. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right, for the timeline, I just went to our timeline node. I double click it. I have 2 keyframes. To add a keyframe, you hold down Shift and left click. So I can add as many keyframes as I want by Shift and left clicking. And if I want to get rid of those keyframes, I can select them and hit delete. So with 2 keyframes selected, my first one is always going to be 0, 0 for time and value. The second one is going to be whatever the length is for our time. So in this case, it's 2 seconds, 2 seconds. And then our value is going to be -1. And if I want, I can click zoom to fit horizontally and zoom to fit vertically. And when I do, you can see that here's my keyframe and my keyframe. All right, with that set, then now I have this new rotate door float value, and I'm connecting it with a float plus float, like so. And then my door hinge, I'm doing a get relative rotation, actually. I'm breaking the vector, the rotator vector, to a, 3 different floats. I'm connecting the Z to this float value, and then connecting our float plus float to the Z value of our set relative rotation. Perfect. All right, guys, have a good one. And I will see you on Thursday. Bye.
Sir, I got a quick question.
Go ahead, Brandon.
Just to double confirm, you said if we build our door in Maya or Max, it will bypass the pivot point?
No. What I'm saying is if you build it in Maya or Max, and you can set the pivot point correctly. So right now we're using just a straight cube as a mesh, and that cube's pivot point is in the center of the mesh. If you build it in Maya or Max, you can move the pivot point, right? Like freeze transforms, move transforms, reset transforms.
Right.
Yeah, so so in Max, you can move it so that the pivot point is offset like this, see?
Oh, okay. And what do we need to name the file in order to transfer it over? Was it OBJ or FBX?
Yeah, you do not, for this course, you do not need to open Max or Maya and build a door. And as a matter of fact, the assignment says use a cube mesh from Unreal. So you don't have to do all that craziness and build a door in Maya and stuff.
Okay.
I'm just saying that that's how you would do it if you were to do a real door from like in a real game.
Oh, okay.
And to be honest, we might be able to, let's see if we go to the Epic Games launcher here, and we go to, these are great questions, by the way, Brandon. If we go to the marketplace, my internet wants to be really slow here. Let's see, we go to Unreal Engine, and we go to the marketplace. And the marketplace is exactly the same as the marketplace in Unity, right? We type in door. I bet we could find a door. Yeah, see? Let's see if we can find free ones. Price load high. Hey, that's not a door. That's a Humvee helicopter. I'm looking for, oh, maybe I didn't type in. No, I did type in door. Wow, let's do range 0 to 0. All these free military things, that's super cool. Those are not doors though. All right, well, I guess there's no free doors, but apparently you can get a helicopter if you want. Yeah, see, this guy's made a ton of doors, which is cool. And I bet they all open the right way. Let's see. Yep. Actually, I'm gonna stop my stream now because it's kind of off topic. So we'll stop recording.